Hey, hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar between BGL and Macquarie. The title of the webinar is obviously there, Simplifying Bank Accounts, Data Statements, Security and Competitive Interest Rates. We probably couldn't have given it a longer title, could we, Duncan? My
I
name's
think the webinar's done now. We've explained everything.
Yeah, so my name's Jeevan Tokhi and I'm joined here by Duncan Booth. So Duncan, you're a strategic account manager at Macquarie. What is a strategic account manager?
Yeah, good question. And I think my family asks me that regularly. But my role after 16 years at Macquarie is to kind of work with our strategic partners, and BGL is key and core to that. So really working with them to how do we solve the needs of our mutual clients.
Excellent, excellent. And we've just launched a quick poll there to, I guess, ask the audience, I guess, what is about yourselves and what is your role. So we're obviously speaking in the right context. Obviously, in terms of housekeeping, today's session will be recorded. So if you do need to drop off early or would like to send the recording to a colleague, the link to recording will be sent to all attendees today. Any questions that you do have, please enter them there into the Q&A panel, and we'll either stop periodically or come back there at the end to answer any questions that we do have. So looking there at the poll there, Duncan, 85% of the attendees so far are in fact accountants. So let's go through. So giving there a little bit of context. So I guess Duncan and I, in terms of this webinar, we're going to really just use it as a bit to talk about what we've done in terms of the latest integration. I'm going to give a live demo of how it actually works, and then obviously we're happy to answer any questions that you do have. So Duncan, maybe I'll pass over to you first of all to kick, I guess, things off. So what led, I suppose, first of all, BG and Macquarie had worked together such a long time, but what led, I guess, to this new functionality being released and and BGL obviously being one of the preferred partners to launch that with?
Yeah, good question, Jeevan. And no, thanks to the work of BGL for implementing this. When we're thinking of what we're trying to solve for, and particularly with 85–90% of the audience today being accountants, we really wanted to provide an easy onboarding experience for trustees and members, but along with that, create an efficient method for you as accountants and administrators to gain access to the account. And the feedback we'd heard, I've been going to reg check for a number of years. I've been on the ground in practices like yours for a long time, was that the CMA makes administering the fund really simple for professionals, and it gives the end client a competitive interest rate that's secure and easy to use, but that you weren't able to assist your clients in opening that account, or if they already had an account, you had to fill in a form to gain access. And I know I was speaking to Jeevan last week around, every time you ask a client to do something, you're then relying on the client to get it done. I was refinancing my home loan last week, and my one job, my wife kept reminding me, was to provide the insurance certificate for our home insurance to the bank so that they can go ahead and refinance. Pretty simple task, probably like when you ask your client to sign the TPA form or give you a statement. I jumped online, the live chat, then I forgot about it. The next day I got reminded to do it again. I got it. I sent the wrong one in. It took me 5 days to get one document back to the bank, and all that time the bank was waiting to finalize it. And a strange analogy, but it made me think, you're probably there asking your clients for information, trying to get them to do things. I'm sure you asked them multiple times, and it got me thinking, well, how do we make the process of administering the fund easier? And whether that's finalising it at the end of the year or simply getting it set up. And so based on that, Jeevan and his team and our team really designed a simple way for you to share the relevant data and information to help establish the account. And then, as we'll talk through today, not only does it establish the account, but importantly, automatically provides you then with the data feeds into BGL and sets up the future access to statements in BGL as well, so that you have less of those touch points back to your clients and you don't have to ask them to do anything further.
Yeah, sounds good. And we'll show how this obviously works a bit later on. So as we saw, I think 89% of the audience there are accountants. So I think one of the common questions that often pop up from accountants is, do I have to be licensed in order to give advice around bank accounts? And especially, I suppose, for those new funds that are being established. So do you want to maybe comment on that from the bank's perspective?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I'd say for the last 3 or 4 years at RegTech, it's one that we've hypothesised with many accountants there, because in short, well, what we've worked with you to design is that the data is already in BGL, and that relevant information, all we need to do is share it with the client. And so we've often had the feedback that I don't want to log into Macquarie Bank or our advisor online to do the application. I'm not licensed because it asks me to do the license. And the easiest way to think about it, I think, Jeevan, is what would your clients do today if they wanted a Macquarie Bank account, and how have we tried to solve for that? So if Jeevan wanted a Macquarie CMA today and didn't have BGL technology there to use, he'd go to macquarie.com.au. He'd enter in all the relevant information for the trusts, the corporate trustee, him, his wife, or any other members of the fund. It's a really intuitive, follow your nose process, but there is a lot of information that comes with an SMSF. And so all we've done is go, well, most of that information, in fact, is captured in BGL, aside from a couple of things like occupation and source of wealth. How do we simply enable you to share the data with the client to avoid them having to do that first step and simply, as you'll see, get an email to enter in any of that missing information? So really, it's just designed as an automated way to share data, and there's disclosures on there to say that it is just designed around data sharing, not around providing documents, because the product information statement is in the email. You're not providing it. They have to click on the link to review that. But for you, it's a way of making sure that the BGL authority is already in there. It's one of the things they have to remember to do on the application if they're doing it themselves, is to put BGL there. And if they don't do that, you've then got get an authority form. And it also means you're guaranteed to get the statements, not just the data feed. So really, we've tried to establish it so that all you're doing is, your client said they want a bank account, you're able to share data to speed up that process in opening and speed up the process in administering it later.
No, absolutely. I think that's the key there, that it's not really as you said, providing advice. It's really just sharing data and speeding up the process. So it's really just providing, I guess, an efficient solution. It's probably a good time to maybe, forward too many slides. Maybe a good time to actually show maybe how the functionality works, and that might obviously rather than just us talking about it. So I guess one thing I wanted to emphasize, and I've got here in this slides, is obviously the solution itself could be used for an existing SMSF, or it could be used for new SMSFs. With new SMSFs, again, it's sort of streamlining the process. So we've got a lot of legal document suppliers that we integrate with. So you're able to create an SMSF using one of those platforms. Obviously, for a majority of those now have the functionality to register the ABN utilizing themselves. Or so obviously you can do that yourselves using either the ABR or ATO methods there as well. That data from those ones that are connected, we automatically pushed into Simple Fund 360, so all that data is pushed in there. And then from there, you can actually go through and create the CMA. And I guess the real key thing there is, from creating the actual trustee to pushing into Simple Fund 360 to actually creating the Macquarie CMA, is that data is only entered in once. So there's no actually rekeying of data which is required, which is obviously massive. So let's go through and actually have a look at how this works within Simple Fund 360. So jumping through, I'm going to actually go through and select, I'm here now with Simple Fund 360, going to go through and actually select the fund. So this is an existing fund, so all the details are obviously entered in and going through. So we've tried to make the actual process of opening up the new CMA quite simple. So going through, under the Connect menu, you'll find the option there, Connections. which everyone will have access. And right at the very top there, you can see there, open new Macquarie cash management accounts. So I go through and click on that. So Duncan, I suppose the first thing there with obviously within the titles, maybe to explain to everyone, it's got the options there of opening up the Macquarie cash management account and an accelerator account. So what's the difference between the cash management and the accelerator account?
Yeah, really good question, Jeevan. And probably for a lot of people on the call, if you've used Macquarie for a while, you might recall we've always had a higher interest rate account. The CMA accelerator, if you think of it as the sibling account to the CMA, with the CMA being the everyday working account. I think we referred to it in a podcast last year as the heartbeat. So it's there for the day-to-day usage, linking to your investments, your property, everything you need to do. The CMA accelerator is there for any of the excess cash or cash that's waiting to be deployed to earn a higher interest rate. But instead of doing 2 applications, we can bundle it all into one.
Beautiful. So as you can see on screen, what we try and do is make this process quite simple. You see that the obviously the entity names are automatically brought through. It provides the option, would you like to open the accelerator at the same time? Yes or no, and obviously yes will be enabled by default. The trustee details are automatically read, and what we ask you to select there is who is the primary applicant, so which direct trustee that will be sent to. Once that's gone, once you agree there to the terms and conditions, really just click on submit. So what takes place here in the background is these details are submitted through to Macquarie via a secure API. Macquarie obviously responds to requests, and as you can see, automatically what's returned is the BSB and account number. So as you can see, it's all come through. So obviously, as that BSB and account number is being used, obviously deposits can't, like, correct me if I'm wrong here, Duncan, you can't still deposit into that account until you've gone through and actually completed all of the AML and KYC checks. Is that correct?
Correct. So you can't deposit money, but the reason we provide it straight away through the API is that you can start to get to work in using that bank account for any of your investments, property, linking, reporting, whatever it might need be. Just means you can start straight away, rather than waiting for the account to be opened.
Yep, beautiful. And what takes place obviously within Simple Fund 360 is the actual, if I go across to the screen, is that bank account's automatically created within Simple Fund. It's actually linked, the actual BSB and account number inserted, and it's ready to actually receive data there directly from Macquarie. So what, in terms of the trustees, what actually takes place is an actual email is sent to the trustees. Okay, they'll receive the actual email, which they can actually then go through and actually complete. Don't know if I actually want to demo this, but let's go back and resume this one. So you can actually go through, and we'll just open it up, but I won't bore the audience with actually going through and completing it. And I think it was.
And while you're doing that, Jeevan, it's probably worth touching on here the process. So if there's a couple of applicants in the as directors or trustees, this is for SMSFs and trusts, and we'll extend it out to companies in the future. But if there's more than one person, the primary person, which you saw Jeevan show on that home screen in BGL, they'll receive this email first, and they'll be asked to confirm the details that have been extracted from BGL. Once they've confirmed and entered in any missing information, it then goes to the second applicant and any subsequent ones. I mentioned before what is probably likely to be missing from here. There's a couple of individual specific questions around occupation, first and foremost, that they need to enter. For individuals, there might be one around source of wealth. And then the trust deed is probably the other key one, which is asked to be uploaded at the end of the application there. And so the clients will be required to upload that. When we talk later about what's coming, one of the things we'd love to work on is always making it more efficient. And so we'd love the ability for you as the financial professional to acknowledge the deed details in the BGL screen rather than your client having to upload a copy of that. So something we're acutely aware of, again, a simple process for clients. We want to make it even simpler by taking away the need for that trust deed to be uploaded. So we'll work closely with Jeevan and the team to see if we can find a way to do that in the coming months.
There's the question there. There's a question come through. What documents are required by the trustees during this application process that they're going through and final August, reviewing and completing the missing details?
Yeah, so the only document we need, whether it's an SMSF or a trust, is the trust deed itself. So it'll request for you to upload that. Any other missing information will be uploaded or be completed during the application here. The clients are electronically verified, much the same way they would be if they went to our website to do this. It's currently around 85–90% of clients pass that electronic verification. If they don't pass that verification, they do get prompted then to upload a copy of ID and go through the ID process that way. But it's a very high pass rate. And again, just trying to make it as efficient as possible. So there's no need for an authority form because the BGL details are automatically in here. So it's just the trust deed.
And there's a question that comes from Fabio. Does the deed need to be certified?
Great question. And it's something we might even share, Jeevan, with your team to add to the Macquarie CMA help page on BGL around our certification standards, because it does need to be certified with certain details within the last 12 months. But as I mentioned, the key objective of ours is how do we actually enable you as the financial professional to be able to make a declaration that the information on the deed matches the application. So it's something we're acutely aware of, the fact that certification, either the timing or the type of certification, does cause some questions. So keep your ears out as we're really focused on making it as efficient as possible.
Beautiful. A few questions coming through, which I'll maybe loop back to. I think looking at that. So obviously we've gone through, once the actual, I suppose you did cover a little bit there, but once the actual, Macquarie team's processed the application and it's all been approved, what happens next?
Yeah, good question. So we think about the workflow we've spoken about so far is you've gone in, triggered it to your client, primary applicant's got it, confirmed their details, the secondary applicant's done it. They've provided us a copy of the deed. Once we have that, all information being provided to us, 90% of our accounts are open within 24 hours. So if all the information you and the client have given us is correct and meets our requirements, 90% of those are open within 24 hours, if not that day. So once we open it, what will happen then? There's two things. One, what happens for you? Well, what will happen then is the feed will go live into BGL. So no need for you to do anything, and it goes from the in progress, like Jeevan showed a moment ago, to live. The CMA Accelerator account also then appears for your client in BGL, and your client gets a welcome email, and that welcome email not only says that their account is opened, but also has the crucial steps around their Macquarie ID, which if they're an existing Macquarie client for other products or an existing CMA that they might already have, they'll get the same one. And it then provides the useful steps to help them get the mobile app for their everyday banking, but also the Macquarie Authenticator app, which is critical to the go-forward use of the account. But we provide in that email the links to how to get it and some of the FAQs around it as well.
Excellent. And I think it's probably important because I know some banks have different restriction things. I know, for example, me and my wife, if I need her to do something, I found I'm always chasing her, or vice versa. Obviously, the account opening, I'm assuming, requires both to authorize, obviously, the opening of the account. But is that the same once the account's actually been opened?
Yeah, I think my wife would agree on making sure that it's easy to use once it's open. But no, you've got the ability to select either any party to sign or to operate the account, or you've got the ability for all or both parties to operate it. And so if you think about the day-to-day usage of it and what suits your clients best, it's a good conversation to have with them. But I know when Jeevan and I were talking, even if you have it as one person can do it, which is the one we most commonly see. So if you were going to make a payment, or Jeevan had been asked and he hadn't got around to it, so his wife decided to just go and make the payment herself, she'd be able to make the payment, using the authenticator to approve it. And she could do that on her own if those instructions were any one person assigned. But what we've done is we've built it out so that all clients or parties on the account, directors, trustees, get a notification after the transfer. So what we want to ensure is that there's visibility, agnostic to your role within the fund, that once a payment is made, everyone is made aware of that payment. So there's no call to action outside the fact that they're now aware of the payment. But I think if we really want to make sure everyone knows what's happening in the fund, that they can. They do have the ability, though, to edit those preferences. So if they only want to get notified of transactions over a certain value, or if they only want to see or approve certain things, they can do that. And they can even go down to the level of customizing whether they need to approve their login every single time they log in, whether they want to do it from trusted devices only that they can log in without the authenticator. We really want each individual to be able to customize it so that you can operate the account however you want, but then get notified however you want as well.
Absolutely. Now, that's probably the account holders, but as we've seen, like with the audience there, majority are accountants and administrators. So what's the benefits that they get of their clients being I suppose, having a Macquarie CMA?
Yeah, so if we think about the benefits for those on the call today, being accountants, and some of you probably fit in both buckets, and we'll come back to the client benefits later, because I know that's something that comes up is, if I'm going to help my client by sharing the data to open an account, it'd be good to know what the benefit for them is. But for you as an accountant, it's been around for 40 years, the CMA or the CMT when I first started. And I think the core principles, Jeevan, you've known it a long time, long time as well. The core principles really haven't changed for accountants and financial professionals. In fact, I saw a floppy disk of CMT training when I was in the Sydney office the other week, and the content on it was essentially the things we still talk about today. So we bucket them into visibility, integration, and control, with the overlay of security there. So visibility, I know, seems really straightforward, but there's a few things that people sometimes tend to forget, such as when you get access to an existing account. So whether that's by the third-party authority form, or switching over and you getting access to an existing one, you actually get up to 3 years worth of transactions into the BGL software, and sometimes it's longer than that. But really, we know you don't just need the information for the fund from today, you need it from previously. And your clients get 10 years worth of statements online. So visibility, as simple as it sounds, is pretty critical. Integration, I think, Jeevan showed it there, that CMA account number came through in a matter of seconds for you to use. So we want to make sure that our APIs, power you to run the fund as quick as possible. But let's not forget the overnight feed of CMA and Accelerator. BGL have 300,000 funds and a third of all SMSFs and Macquarie CMAs. And so the ability for us to, hopefully Jeevan can attest, regularly and accurately give that data through can't be forgotten. Control, I think, it might seem like a strange word, but it's, control is you having control over your client's cash account to administer the fund in a simple way as possible. So you take control over getting the data and the statements. That's something that's been critical to this integration. We want you to be able to control the flow of that data and the information, rather than having to rely on the client to do so. And then I know I mentioned it before, but it'd be remiss of me not to mention security again. We're deeply committed to protecting you and your clients. We know that not every provider leverages an authenticator application. But by leveraging Macquarie Authenticator, our own, the richness of data that we can have so that clients can approve or decline based on all of that information is really important to us. If you think about when you go to log in, it's not only that there's a login attempt, it's here's the date, here's the time, here's the location of it with a map, so that you've got everything you need. Or when you're having to approve a payment, it doesn't just have the basic information that you can fit in an SMS. It's got all the information so that the trustees or directors can see everything in it. So, the security is there for you as well as much as it is there for the client as well. So hopefully, Jeevan, visibility, integration and control, that's what we've stood on for 40 years and will continue to do so.
Absolutely. Now, before we get into, I suppose, the questions there from the audience, was there any other, I think you touched on there was other client benefits. So is there anything else you wanted to sort of touch on around that area? Or have you covered everything?
Yeah. I think, I don't need to mention security, and probably just quickly reiterating, the interest rate, because we're not naive enough to think that that's not important to you and your clients, because they hold cash for various reasons, and you're not providing advice to them as the accountant, but you want to make sure that they can easily maximise the rate of return. And so the CMA account on its own, is currently paying as of 21st of November. Better make sure I get that in for the recording. That's currently paying 2.75%, while the CMA accelerator is 4.65. So if you think about it, between those two, where you can move money in real time between them, the client can, really giving them access to, if they're waiting to pay that tax bill, or if they're waiting to invest, or waiting for their property to settle, waiting to pay their fees, that they're able to maximise the return for it there. And just the ease of use. I know when me and Dan were talking, he wanted ease of use to be number one, but really the ability to set up payments, to log in, is the main thing there. The ability to, if your tax bill arrives in the post today, you can set that payment up today to be made in a month's time. So really they're the key things for your client.
That's great. So was there anything else you wanted to mention, I guess, Duncan, before we went into questions?
No, hopefully we've answered some of the questions I've gone, but I think hopefully you've heard today that we're keen to iterate with this as well, and work with your team to make sure that it's as streamlined as possible and continue to advance it.
No, and I think that's a key thing. We want to constantly expand. I don't know if we want to touch on what we're planning to do around statements as well, in terms of physical statements, I suppose, or PDFs of statements.
Yeah. Yep. So really great call out, and whether or not you're using this functionality or just have clients with Macquarie CMA. So from January next year, we'll provide BGL, any CMA and accelerator statement that has BGL with authority on it. So when you use the BGL authority form or Macquarie third-party authority form and appoint BGL onto the account with that viewing authority, that automatically pulls it through, and that's what this does automatically. We'll then provide every 6 months the 6 monthly statement to BGL to then save to the client's software. So really trying to take away that need for your clients having to do it. And I think, if you think about the key factors that clients need to use the CMA when it comes to the accountant, that's one of the big ones, right, Jeevan, is having to get that statement pretty regularly. Or even if they've got an advisor, you don't have to go to the advisor to ask for a statement. You can just get it directly. So if you're opening it through here, you'll get it. If you've got existing clients that you're just using ESI credentials at the moment, you can simply have an authority form completed. And as long as we've got that before the end of this year, they'll get captured in the January statement production next year.